Welcome back to the DeVory Darkins show. And in today's video, James Comey appeared in court, but it came in a very shocking way. And mainstream media is trying to do whatever they can to minimize exactly what's going on with his case. Secondly, a California representative, a Democrat running for governor of that state, embarrassed herself during a brutal interview. I want to react to it because I just think it's straight up entertaining. And finally, Kristi Noem visited Portland yesterday, and I believe she let the people know exactly what's going on and what's going to happen moving forward. So in all these stories, as you guys know, if you follow me for quite some time, we're going to show you what both sides are saying and then give you the bottom line.
Former FBI Director James Comey did appear for that arraignment. Alexandria, Virginia, a moment ago, pled not guilty to these two charges that the Justice Department has now laid against him, accusing him of lying to Congress. I want to bring in Andy McCarthy here. It was a short hearing, as to be expected. Do you believe the government has a case, Andy? And if so, how strong?
I don't believe they have a case, Bill, based on what we've seen in the indictment and what we know from the public reporting. But now we're going to find out. You know, the arraignment was apparently unexceptional and unremarkable. That's usually the case. The only thing that really happens is a plea gets entered. But now the real work begins. The judge will set a schedule for the filing of motions. I expect that Comey's team is going to make motions, particularly about selective prosecution and that sort of thing. And the judge will have to rule on that. And if the case doesn't get thrown out prior to a trial date, we'll have a trial.
All right. Listen, I think the story just straight up and bottom line up front for you guys is this. The way they're already treating James Comey is telling you exactly the way they want this to go. Okay, they're treating him with kid gloves. So first, he was not arrested. He was not detained. He was not perp walked, as they may say, in front of the courtroom. You did not see him on any cameras. They have no photos. It's almost as if they sneaked him into the back of the building, if you know what I mean. So clearly there's already some funny business going on right now. And if you compare his situation to, I don't know, let's say a Steve Bannon, a Peter Navarro, a Roger Stone, and the list goes on and on. They always wanted to make an example of these people, not just legally, I guess, if you want to say that, but publicly, right? Optics. So that's not what's happening here so far. So I'm already feeling a certain way about this. Now, let's go to this next clip. This is CNN, in my opinion, continuing to minimize the impact of this case. Take a listen.
I just quickly ask Caitlin, I take it that the judge did not ask for Comey to be detained while he awaits trial. Is that right?
That's correct. So he's being released just on his signature alone. That's a personal recognizance bond. He was never under arrest. He was summoned to come to court today, and that's how it'll work going on from here. He's being ordered by the judge. You've got to come back for all of these additional appearances, and right now there's only two other hearings on the calendar at this time. One in November, one in December, for the government to argue everything to try and get this case tossed. We'll get the rulings in writing from the judge, and then there's a trial date, which they say it'll only take 2 to 3 days to get this through a trial. And this is a court that moves fast.
Caitlin, very quickly, if he's convicted on these two felony charges, how much time in jail potentially could Comey face?
Well, the maximum for these two counts that he faces, it's a 5-year maximum prison sentence. That is extremely unlikely. Essentially, no one gets that. And Comey would be, if he were to be convicted, a first-time offender. There's also a fine that would come with a sentence, but there's a lot of different options, and probation would always be one. We often are not talking about custodial sentences when it comes to something like this, a false statement charge.
A false statement charge. No, perjury. Why don't we just call it what it is? The guy lied to Congress, I think, a couple of times. And again, I'm not a lawyer or a judge, so that is my personal opinion. And the fact of the matter is, a lot of people out there, I don't even think if you're a conservative, even people who are independents could see that James Comey, if they look at the evidence, was up to a lot of nonsense. There's plenty of complaints against him during his tenure. a lot of whistleblowers, and a lot of that gets swept under the rug because mainstream media refuses to do their job, which is to report the news objectively, which is why we always show you what both sides are saying. And sometimes you guys get a little upset with me because you're like, I don't want to see what MSNBC has to say. Well, we have to understand what half of the country is thinking so we know how to respond, right? And we already see where our country is going as the left continues to become unhinged. Now, this takes us to MSDNC, funny enough. And according to them, this is a weak case at best. Take a listen.
I think this is an extremely weak case, Anna, and if you don't believe me, ask the prosecutors and investigators who investigated this case. Reportedly, Eric Siebert would have loved to have won this case on behalf of his boss, Pam Bondi, and the President of the United States, Donald Trump, who urgently wanted this prosecution. But the experienced prosecutor said if this case goes to trial, he's going to lose. And that's why he declined to bring it. His reward was he got fired by the President of the United States, who bragged that he was going to get the guy he wanted. And in order to do that, he installed this extremely unexperienced prosecutor to bring this high-profile, very tough case. So to me, one of the most telling moments this morning was when the very experienced defense attorney for Mr. Comey, Pat Fitzgerald, said he was going to bring a motion for prosecutorial misconduct. Anna, that's a nuclear option for a defense attorney. It means that he or she believes that the prosecutor violated the law or professional ethical standards. It's usually brought when prosecutors are accused of presenting false evidence or withholding evidence. So this is going to be a heated battle, and I'm fairly certain that Mr. Comey will prevail, either by getting the case tossed out or by getting a quick verdict of not guilty from a jury.
Okay, so far you've got Fox News, MSNBC, and CNN all really saying the same thing. They believe this is a weak case. And the interesting part about all of it, as you guys just heard from that delusional take about, the president is celebrating this and vowed to go after James Comey. Oh, so it's the same thing that Big Tish did, right? Same thing that Alvin Bragg did, right? Bonnie Willis and her lover boyfriend, okay? That's exactly what they all did publicly, repeatedly, went on all the networks and said, yeah, we have to put this, at the time, former president behind bars. Let's not forget, Donald Trump has a mugshot. The only president in history. Now, the good news about it all clearly backfired on Democrats because he's a marketing genius. He knows how to communicate in an election campaign, and they use that in a way better way than his opponents did, of course. But I digress. The point here is, where's the mugshot for James Comey? Can we get one? Is that okay to ask for? Is that me wanting to be partisan here? I just find it interesting, the two-tier justice system, as they call it. Well, I think it's just a justice system that, depending on who you are, there's a certain way that they are going to treat you. Now, let's get to some technical stuff. This case is set for January 5th, not January 6th, okay? I'm shocked they didn't put January 6th, because, they like to put meaning on everything. And they say it's only going to last 2 to 3 days. So it's going to be a fast hearing. And according to the legal analysts on CNN, this is not technically normal, and it favors the defense. Take a look.
First of all, just how fast we're going to get the trial here. Under 3 months. I'm sure it's happened in the history of the federal courts, but it's virtually unheard of. I don't know if I've ever, in my experience, seen a case get to trial that fast. It shows me the defendant's really the one who controls that. Jim Comey wants to go to trial. He wants to do it quickly. The fact that the trial is only going to be 2 or 3 days shows me that this is a very narrow issue. This all has to do with whether Jim Comey lied in that one bit of testimony that we saw from 2020 when he essentially said to Ted Cruz that he never authorized anyone to leak at the FBI. This is not going to be a sprawling, weeks-long case. And then finally, following up on Caitlin Polance's reporting just there, Comey's going to bring the kitchen sink approach to motions. He's going to bring every possible motion. You don't always see that. Sometimes defendants are a little more restrictive in what they want to bring. He's going to argue vindictive prosecution, selective prosecution, that the U.S. attorney was illegally appointed. So they're going to make every effort to get this case thrown out before it gets to trial. This is going to move really fast, really quickly, and really intensely over the next several weeks.
Vindictive prosecution, malicious prosecution. Doesn't that sound familiar in what happened to the president, his business associates, his family members? I don't think you guys need a reminder of all of that, but it has to be said. And the fact of the matter is, depending on which way you lean, a lot of people, they just have not heard the actual full picture of what's taken place over the past decade. I mean, if you are a Trump supporter, you know everything since the beginning, okay? But you'd be shocked at how many people are ignorant of exactly what happened to President Trump. They really don't know that unless you show them that. That's what we saw right after his assassination attempt last year. What happened? A lot of independents started to do their research and they realized, oh, wait a minute. The president isn't what they've been saying he is, or all this, lies about the, suckers hoax and etc. But anyways, point is, I wish they would just report this story properly, and I know that's an expectation that won't be met, and it's just unfortunate that that is the way it's got to be. But hopefully, this guy is held accountable. And for the record, just so you guys understand, I support the president. I want him to be successful because if he's successful, our country is successful. But let's not get it twisted. Who has been convicted so far in this administration? No one. And who has been indicted in this administration? Only one person. And we're already on, what is it, month 10, month 8, I believe it is. Month 10. So yeah, I'm getting a little impatient here. Let me know if you guys feel the same way. One indictment, 10 months. How do you feel about that? Let me know in the chat because we're about to get to that and see what you guys have to say so far. All right, one more clip here for you. This is Alyssa Griffin on CNN. Again, she says that this is also a weak case, but she makes an interesting point. She believes this is the president's way of silencing his political opponents. Take a listen.
This is all coming up after President Trump publicly went on his social media and pressured Pam Bondi to put forth cases that other prosecutors had looked at and did not find the evidence. Does this sort of have the stench of a political prosecution surrounding it?
Well, that's definitely the argument that Jim Comey's team is going to make. And listen, I've said many times, I don't know that Donald Trump's goal here is convictions. I think that we've seen that he's going to go after people who he feels wronged him, who were opponents of his. And he feels like he was gummed up in the legal system over the last 4 years while he was running for re-election, bogged down in legal bills, spending his days in courtrooms, and he wants other people to feel that pain. So it's about, honestly, silencing people who have opposed him, but also kind of giving them the payback that he feels like he deserves. And listen, every legal expert I've talked to is very, very skeptical that there's going to be a conviction in this Comey case unless something comes to light that you and I don't know today. But I don't know that that's Donald Trump's goal right now.
Yeah, I actually second that point. I believe the whole deal here and what he ran on, what he campaigned on, is holding these corrupt individuals accountable. But here's the challenge. If you're like me, then you probably believe there is a deep state, that there are people, even in his administration, that they're still undermining him. Now, I'm not looking for the president to spend his entire presidency going after the corrupt Jim Comey and Adam Pencil Schiff and Jasmine Ghetto Crockett and Big Tish. I mean, we could go down the list. That's all obvious, okay? I want him to put America first. I want him to continue to focus on the economy because let's be real. The only thing that's really going to win the next election is the economy. And as long as he continues to do what he's doing and the tariffs don't turn into what they say it was supposed to turn in, which is Armageddon, then the midterms looks good right now. Because even if you disagree with Republicans, even policy-wise, how could you compare that to what Democrats want to do? Meaning men and women's sports, cutting off children's body parts, right? They basically operate with zero restraint, right? Today, that party just wants to let it all go. And the problem with that is there's no law and order. And as a Christian, I really do believe heaven is operated by order. Not everybody's going to get in, right? There's an orderly fashion to the universe. Let's say you're not religious. Scientifically, there is an order. There's a certain things that happens in a way no matter what. And right now, politically, Democrats, they don't want to operate in order. That's why it's chaotic. So I think when we roll around on the midterms, based on how everything is today, I think Republicans have a good chance because Republicans are not chaotic. Democrats are. Okay, I think I'm making my point. All right, now let me take over here because I want to see what people have to say in the chat feed so far. We're live on Rumble and YouTube, as you guys know, going live Monday through Friday and at 1 p.m. Eastern time. So if you guys can please like, share, and subscribe and let us know how you guys feel about our show. This is new. First week out of the gate. We had some troubles in the beginning there. But I think we're finally getting the hang of all of this. And I appreciate your guys' patience in giving me your attention. Shout out to Rumble and their team. They're doing great. Shout out to my producer, my wife, and the rest of my team and YouTube. Okay, let's see what you guys have to say here. Let's see if we could bring Rumble here. Okay. Eliminate all the 1% will be free. I don't think so. Here we go. I like this one. It's not about feeling pain or payback. It's about justice and making sure our justice system is fair, not weaponized. If justice isn't obtained, it never will change. That is the bottom line to this story. Listen, just so you guys understand, I really don't care to talk about Comey unless we're going to get a conviction. I don't want to talk about Adam Schiff and Letitia James and all these other people unless they're going to be prosecuted and convicted. All of this is just really extra noise. None of this is really going to impact the midterm election. If you think about it, Americans don't care about this. And what I mean by that is when they go to vote, they're not thinking about James Comey. They're thinking about electricity, cost of living, etc., things like that. And whether or not they're going to be living in safe neighborhoods, which the president has been doing something about, and whether or not they have the right to parent their children. That's why we don't live in California anymore. They don't want you to parent your children. They believe the government knows more and best when it comes to parenting kids. That's why they are continuing to do nonsense things in California. Okay, let's see what else you guys have here on Rumble. DeVory, will there be any accountability for Comey? I'm not too sure. The results show the answer is no. Results. It shows that the answer is no. The only result that ever happened was towards conservatives or people who were in the Trump administration 1.0, Steve Bannon, Roger Stone, Peter Navarro. And they didn't lie to Congress, if you think about it. Okay, Peter Navarro and Steve Bannon they just didn't show up and they went to prison. Isn't that interesting? And the fact of the matter is, just in case if you guys need a little history lesson, they weren't the only one to do that. Eric Holder did that, and he was never indicted. Never even saw a courtroom, just so you guys understand. So, of course, it's a double standard. Yeah, let's see here. Very dangerous to not prosecute Democrats for their flagrant crimes. Yeah, they have to. They have to be prosecuted. All right, let's see what you guys say in here on YouTube, and then we're going to head to our next story here about California Democrat. Again, we're going live Monday through Friday, 1 p.m. Eastern time. Share this stream with everyone you know. Again, the whole purpose here is to show you what both sides are saying, encourage you to critically think for yourself. There's plenty of propaganda. I was telling my producer yesterday, I think there's plenty of people who are on the fringes and have some radical beliefs and opinions about what's happening in our country. That's not my mission here. My mission is to get back to what makes this country great by encouraging people to do their own thinking. You don't need to be told what to think. I think if we just show you what's going on, you're smart enough to figure it out. All right. And that's just common sense. Let's see here. On YouTube, what do we have here? Love curly hair. Thank you. Appreciate the super chat. Let's see if we have a question. All right, so I see I have a lot of Californians in the chat, so you guys are going to love this. Let's go to, I still have control here. Let me go to story 2 here. So Katie Porter is a Democrat representative. She's running to be the next governor of that state. I mean, my wife and I, we remind ourselves every single day that we are so grateful we left California. I mean, I love Texas. We love it. We love the weather. We love where we live. I mean, people are nicer. It's really great. I mean, you can go into town, you run into someone and you just have a nice conversation. Matter of fact, when I came out here this is a personal story. When I came out here looking at homes, I was pulled over by a cop. Tell me why we were sitting there for 45 minutes in a just heart-to-heart conversation. That's Texas for you. California, man, that cop would have probably written me a ticket and told me to kick rocks. So anyways, having said all that, I think this interview from this representative sums up why more people will continue to leave California, because if she becomes the next governor, if you think Gavin Newsom is dangerous, wait till you see this. Let's go ahead and play that now.
What do you say to the 40% of California voters who you'll need in order to win, who voted for Trump?
How would I need them in order to win, man?
Well, unless you think you're going to get 60% of the vote. You think you'll get 60%. Everybody who did not vote for Trump will vote for you. That's what you're saying.
In a general election, yes. If it is me versus a Republican, I think that I will win the people who did not vote for Trump.
What if it's you versus another Democrat?
I don't intend that to be the case.
So how do you not intend that to be the case? Are you going to ask them not to run?
No, I'm saying I'm going to build the support. I have the support already in terms of name recognition. And so I'm going to do the very best I can to make sure that we get through this primary in a really strong position. But let me be clear with you. I represented Orange County. I represented a purple area. I have stood on my own 2 feet and won Republican votes before. That's not something every candidate in this race can say. If you're from a deep blue area, if you're from LA or you're from Oakland, you don't have an experience.
But you just said you don't need those Trump voters.
Well, you asked me if I needed them to win.
So you don't think
I feel like this is unnecessarily argumentative. What is your question?
The question is the same thing I asked everybody, that this is being called the empowering voters to stop Trump's power grab. Every other candidate has answered this question. This is not
argumentative. And I said I support it.
So, and the question is, what do you say to the 40% of voters who voted for Trump?
Oh, I'm happy to say that. It's the do you need them to win part that I don't understand. I'm happy to answer the question as you have it written, and I'll answer.
Wow. Okay. Yeah, she's a psycho. Okay. I'm not a doctor, and don't look at me for a diagnosis. But guys, I'm going to continue to show you more of this. But let's just back up and address the elephant in the room. If you're running to be the governor of a state that has 44 million people, 44. Now, I might say 60 million if you count the illegals, but I digress. 44 million. Yeah, I think you're going to need 40% of people who voted for Trump. I think you'll need some of them. No question about it. Now, let me just cut to the chase. More than likely, if she is the primary if she wins the primary and she's the official candidate, she'll probably become the next governor. Okay? Just accept it now. Why? Because I am not convinced there will be a Republican governor. And the last time there was, it only came in the form of a recall. Okay? And that was Big Arnold who won. And his, in my opinion, his candidacy ended in scandal, as you guys may know, with his wife and his. Anyways, I'll leave that alone for now. But I don't think California is ready for that. I think too many people have already left. And most of the population is San Diego, Orange County, LA, Sacramento, San Francisco, San Jose. That is most of the population. That's all blue. None of that is red. Now, my wife and I, we lived in the red area, which was in the Central Valley. And yeah, people voted for Trump in that area, but we can't trump those numbers, if that makes sense. So I think that's a very important thing to just understand going in. And that's why she's so cocky. That's why she's arrogant, okay? Because they already know what the numbers are. And secondly, in case you guys need a reminder on this, it's mail-in ballot. They don't check your ID. I remember when we went to go vote, my wife wanted to show her ID, and they were like, no, we can't look at your ID. It's against the law. I mean, it's that serious over there. And I remember I received multiple ballots in the mail all the time. So someone asked me yesterday on X, hey, do you believe that, California will go red? And no, because I don't trust the mail-in ballot system. It's corrupt. There's no question. And when Florida, for example, can complete their voting, when you're talking about a presidential election, when they can complete counting those votes within 24 to 48 hours, and it took California almost 2 months, give me a break. All right, let's keep going. Let's go to this second half of this particular segment.
And we've also asked the other candidates, do you think you need any of those 40% of California voters to win? And you're saying, no, you don't.
No, I'm saying I'm going to try to win every vote I can. And what I'm saying to you is that...
Well, to those voters. Okay, so you...
I don't want to keep doing this. I'm going to call it. Okay. Thank you.
You're not going to do the interview with us?
Nope, not like this. I'm not. Not with 7 follow-ups to every single question you ask.
Every other candidate has answered our follow-ups.
I don't care. I want to have a pleasant, positive conversation in which you ask me about every issue on this list. And if every question you're going to make up a follow-up question, then we're never going to get there.
Ms.
And
Porter,
we're just going to circle around.
I am an investigative
I have never
reporter.
had to do this before, ever.
You've never had to have a conversation with
to end an interview.
Okay, but every other candidate has done this.
What part of I'm me? I'm running for governor because I'm a leader. So I am going to make...
So you're not going to answer questions from reporters? Okay, why don't we go through? I will continue to ask follow-up questions because that's my job as a journalist, but I will go through and ask these, and if you don't want to answer, you don't want to answer. So nearly every legislative...
I don't want to have an unhappy experience with you, and I don't want this all on camera.
I don't want to have an unhappy experience with you either. I would love to continue to ask these questions so that we can show our viewers what every candidate feels about every one of these issues that they care about. And redistricting is a massive issue. We're going to do an entire story just on the responses to that question. And I've asked everybody the same follow-up questions.
Oh, man, I could watch that over and over and over again. You know, I think when you're in politics, you understand if you sit down for an interview, it's not going to be a softball unless you're on MSDNC, okay? I think every politician knows that, or any politician worth their salt, as they may say. And the fact of the matter is those questions are not even difficult. I mean, these are easy. In fact, I was telling my producer before the show, she's worse than Kamala Harris. I mean, she clearly was flustered there. Wants to end the interview. She wants to walk out of there. And it's just funny that she got that upset. So someone who's getting that upset in an interview is fit to lead, again, 44 million on paper, but probably 60 million people in California. I don't know, man. Especially this story that is going viral now because this clip was going viral. I'll take over here. This is an article posted by New York Post. Representative Katie Porty scolded ex-husband's scalp with potatoes. Doesn't make sense, but when you read this, you start realizing how crazy she gets. So, according to the former husband, she said that he or she frequently abused him verbally through toys, books, and other objects at him during their marriage, even pouring scalding hot mashed potatoes on his head during a fight, according to divorce records. His name is Matthew Hoffman, for the people who want to go down that rabbit hole. Anyways, he goes on to say that he filed for divorce. This is back in 2013, so quite some time ago, in a request for a restraining order, that he was routinely called an effing idiot and an effing incompetent by his rage-prone spouse. Now, doesn't this kind of sound familiar with what we've been singing from Democrats this year? You know, if you take in Tesla firebombing and ICE detention facilities and, you know, Minnesota lawmaker, Governor Josh Shapiro, right? It kind of sounds like a pattern here. Quote, she would not let me have a cell phone because she said you're too effing dumb to operate it. Okay, yeah, she's got some screws loose. Quote, when she gets angry, she will claw and scratch her arms and then say to me, look what you made me do. Yeah, this is dating 101. Don't marry a psycho, okay? She regularly says that I am a bad parent in front of the kids. Recently, the children began spitting at me and throwing her food at me. Wow, okay. Well, anyways, this article continues to go on and on and on, and I think you guys are catching on with what I'm saying here. We have a representative in, well, California has a representative now running to be the governor who clearly has a history of, I mean, read it for yourself. She is unhinged. Let's just cut to it. Unhinged, not fit to lead, getting flustered during a softball interview with CBS News out of all people. It's not like she was sitting down with Fox News or something like that. I think she's more flustered than Kamala Harris. Can't even answer questions. Cocky and arrogant. Yeah, that is a great way to lead California. Way to win voters. I just find that to be interesting. Okay, yeah, you guys let me know what you think about Katie Porter there. I just, I can't get enough of it. I might watch it again later on today. All right, so let's go to this next clip because CNN usually wants to bring on people and try to capitalize on this viral moment. And here is this representative out of Nevada. He says that he doesn't mind what happened. Take a look.
She was being asked whether or not she needed those votes and what she would do to entice them, and said she didn't need them. What do you make of that? Is that a good message?
Well, what I'm focused on in Nevada is actually listening and learning from the constituents that I represent. My district covers 50,000 square miles from rural Nevada to the urban communities of Las Vegas and North Las Vegas. And what my constituents tell me is that today their health premiums are about to double if Congress doesn't do its job to act. They are worried about the cost of housing and childcare and groceries and energy costs. And that is why House Democrats have said, cancel the cuts, lower the cost on the American people, and let's save health care by making sure that we extend these premium tax credits so that insurance doesn't double or triple on behalf of the American people. That's what Nevadans and people all across the country are concerned about, and that's what House Democrats, led by Hakeem Jeffries, are fighting for and standing up for here in Congress. It's time for Speaker Johnson to have the respect for the American people and reopen Congress so that we can do our job.
Okay. Now let's just take a step back here and look at what he said objectively. I think she might want to sit down for a meeting with him because CNN tried to lead him on with a particular question and he wasn't buying it. You would think if you want to be the governor of the state of California that you'd learn that same trick politically. Listen, all politicians do that. If they don't want to answer a question, they go back to their main talking point or whatever the unified message is right now. As you guys heard, that's the Democrats' unified message right now. Is it resonating? I don't think so, but that's just me. But clearly she's not ready. And that's why she said this is her first time sitting down and having to do, I mean, what a way to show that you're not ready. Listen, we all make mistakes. I get that, but she is unhinged. We're way past mistakes with her. Okay, based on her situation personally. Okay, now let's go to Fox News version of this interview and what they had to say.
It is the bare minimum in politics that you should be able to analyze your own race and that you should be able to speak to the 40% of voters who might not otherwise agree with you. Presumably, she would like to be the governor for all Californians, which includes those 40%. She can't even countenance a follow-up question on that. And I think the most telling sentence in here is she says, "I've never had to do this ever." What kind of bubble do you live in if you have not received a follow-up question? How have you been isolating yourself from every single person who might ask you something tough when it is literally your job to answer to reporters and to constituents? I would encourage everyone to ask her more and more questions because she needs so much practice at this.
All right.
I'm just amazed by this interaction.
She definitely needs practice. That's what I said. She reminded me of Kamala Harris. Remember that interview she had with Brett Baer? She got really upset because he was asking legitimate questions. Yeah, I just think it's fascinating. Don't get into politics if you can't answer tough questions. I think that is a fair thing to say. Now, let me go to the chat feed and see what you guys have to say. I'll take over here and get your guys' opinion on what's happening here. What did you guys think of that interview? Or how about this? Let me know in the chat. You could put a 1 for yes and 2 for no. Do you believe she will be the next governor of California based on everyone you are aware of that's in the race right now? Let me know. If you believe she will be, put a 1. If you believe she won't be, put a 2. Now, just so you guys understand where I stand, I told you earlier, I believe she probably will. If she indeed wins the primary, obviously, and so there's still some time to go, but God, she really has set herself up to fail here. All right, let me read some of the things you guys have to say here. Starting on YouTube. Let's see here. All right. Yep, if you can't debate, don't run in California. I agree. Yeah, and that's a good one. Of course, they can't answer hard questions since truth-telling is a foreign concept. Thank you, Stacy. That is the MO. You know, I had a great conversation with a good friend, and I was explaining to him the way that I see things is through the eyes of mindset, the way the mind works and behavior, why people do the things they do. The Democrat Party's paradigm has shifted, okay? It has shifted into woke ideology, destructive ideas, clearly, socialism, if you really want to go there, and this violent nature from them. And they try to say this is all justified in the name of compassion. I'm not buying that. Or in the name of democracy. Not buying that either. See, if you guys are curious about what a paradigm is, it's a group of habits, beliefs, ideas in your subconscious mind, and it causes you to do the thing you do every single day. And that's why you see Democrats without any effort. They don't even have to think about it. It's natural for them to bash Trump. It's natural for them to get violent when they don't get their own way. It's natural for them to seek cancellation, silence people, blacklist people that they don't agree with. It's natural for them to say, if DeVory comes out and says he believes there's only two genders, okay, and that people should get close to God, that's hate speech. That people have a mental illness if they start to believe they are a different gender, that's hate speech, right? Abortion, if I say, hey, I don't agree with that, hate speech. Bigot, puppet, coon, all that stuff. I get those messages all the time. You know, and it's just ignorance. That's all it is. People don't understand what they're saying. They don't even understand why they're saying. And that takes me to my point here, just from a mindset standpoint with the Democrat Party. They don't even understand why they believe in what they believe in. They just have been told to believe in this stuff. It's through the repetition of propaganda pumped in the minds of these individuals who lack critical thinking skills. They don't want to see what both sides are saying. They do not want to hear from conservatives whatsoever. They only want to be stuck in an echo chamber. And we saw what happened with Blue Cries, as I call it, the social media app they try to create to compete with X, which was an utter failure. Officially Blue Skies, just in case you guys don't know the name. That has become a cesspool. And that's why most of them have already migrated back to the X platform. So I think you guys know where I'm going with all that. All right. So we've got a lot of twos. A lot of twos. Here we go. A lot of twos. The sad part, she might win. I agree. I do see some ones. There are some people who believe it. This woman is a big baby. She wants to control the narrative. Give me a break. Yeah, I'm with you on that. All right, let's see what Rumble has to say. Again, we're going live. This is our first week in our new live show, partnered with the team from Rumble. Very grateful for them. They're excellent at what they do. And we're here just to bring you both sides of the story, give you the bottom line, help you think for yourself. I'm not going to tell you what to think. I really am. I really can't. And the reason why is because if you can't think for yourself, you're toast. That means you'll consume any propaganda or conspiracy fed to you. We see that now today. The bottom line is that you guys need to be aware of is if you're not going to think for yourself, it's easy to get lost, okay, and to be controlled. All right, let me see what else you guys have to say. Not governor. I really like Steve Hilton, so do I, but fear he has an uphill battle. California residents lean too far left, although after fires, crime, illegals, you'd think they want to change. No. And shout out to Data12. Thank you for the donation there. And let me read his comment. Yes, left are evil. They have no sane answers, so they are now refusing to even answer questions. Them install their own people, and voters have no say. Yeah, you would think after the fires, the crime, the illegals, that Californians would vote differently. You would think that, but the reason why I say no is because there's just on pure numbers, there's too many people that will still vote Democrat no matter what. Think about it from this perspective. There was a recall election on Gavin Newsom, okay, and Larry Elder was a part of that. My wife and I, we went and voted for Larry Elder. But the California GOP really didn't push him. And the GOP, from a national standpoint, really had nothing to say. Now, why is that? I find that to be interesting. So he really didn't have a chance. Votes too, by the way. But my point is, there were people who voted for Gavin Newsom and still disagree with him, still hate the job that he's done for California. That's how screwed up California is, that they publicly don't like the governor. They've seen what he's done, but they will still vote Democrat. And I won't change that opinion until the results prove it. The results currently, right now, have not proven that a Republican will be governor. I might sound a little pessimistic here, but that's just the bottom line to it. All right. Again, if you guys are getting value, like, share, and subscribe. The links in the description below can take you to our merch store, where we do have shirts like the one that I'm wearing, Veterans for Trump. I've had it for almost a year now, one of my favorite shirts. But I do have some offensive shirts if you want to buy those to trigger some people, I guess. Or let's say you're not into all that stuff. You can also donate to the show by buying me a cup of coffee as well. Or just watch the show. I think that is more than enough for me. All right, so now what we're going to do is go to story number 3. And this is Kristi Noem doing exactly what she was put in this position to do. Show up to these cities, let these leaders know what it is, that the federal government is not playing games, particularly the Trump administration, that there is something called federal law that supersedes state law. And if you're not going to protect federal authorities, assets, buildings, vehicles, ICE detention facilities, we will. Let's hear more on that now.
Secretary Noem meeting with Oregon's governor and city leaders in Portland as the ICE officers there target the worst of the worst in Oregon. Noem is calling out Portland's mayor for allowing violent riots and threats against federal agents who are there to help keep their streets safe as the Trump administration tries there to crack down on crime.
You should see the conversations outside. They're threatening their lives. They're saying Molotovs melt ice. They're talking about using weapons of destruction against our officers. This mayor is going to wait until somebody gets violently hurt or killed. He's going to have blood on his hands because he sat around and thought too long, because he was too scared of the political ramifications of making a big decision to keep his city safe. That's my concern, is that you've got so many people here in Portland playing politics.
Of course they're playing politics. It goes back to the Trump derangement syndrome, but it's beyond that. It's part of, I was just talking about it, paradigms. Portland has a paradigm. They have a culture that they tolerate this stuff. Why? Because that's the way they see things over there. Listen, I served in the military for 13 years. That's why it's easy for me to see it this way. I've been to many countries, different cultures, Afghanistan, Kuwait, different countries, of course, China. And you get to see the way people live and their perspectives. And the point is, if you've never been to Portland, it might be a little hard for you to realize they really do see things this way. They don't think Antifa is a problem. In fact, I just read a story the other day where the local police was educating Antifa on how to avoid confrontation with ICE officials. Not the police department warning Antifa, if you engage in ICE officials, we will arrest you. Difference there. So it's their culture. And unfortunately, it's not a culture that nationally will work for this country, okay? But it's their right to operate this way. The only problem is when people start getting hurt and federal assets start being vandalized and damaged, now you got the president's attention. And that's why he attempted to send in the National Guard troops. But as you guys know, we have something called what? A judicial tyranny on our hands, where these judges are seeking to stop the president every step of the way. But he's been able to prevail long term. Short term, he gets stopped. But long term, Supreme Court has continued to rule in his favor because he's not really going outside of his authority or violating the U.S. Constitution in most cases. All right, so let's continue to hear more about Portland.
The tough talk from elected Democrats in these cities that the National Guard is being sent to just has President Trump talking even tougher. This morning, he threatened the following: Chicago mayor should be in jail for for failing to protect ICE officers. Governor Pritzker also. And the president also says he's not ruling out pulling the lever on the Insurrection Act.
Are you planning to invoke the Insurrection Act? That would be, a very long-standing law that's been on the books.
Yeah, well, it's been invoked before, as you know.
Concerning Portland, Oregon's governor is now saying, in my meeting with Secretary Noem, I reiterated again that there is no insurrection in Oregon. Twice now, a federal judge has affirmed that there is no legal basis for military deployment. In Portland, I was clear that I have confidence in local law enforcement to meet the moment. But Secretary Noem doesn't think that Democrats are taking threats posed to federal officials by rioters seriously.
One of the things I've been dealing with all day here in Portland is a bunch of pansies that are elected into political office who won't make a decision to keep their citizens safe. I'm proud of our federal law enforcement officers. They're absolute rock stars in the face of this kind of opposition, and we're going to continue to get them the resources they need to get the bad guys off the streets.
There's going to be a roundtable here at the White House at 3 o'clock today about Antifa. There are limits during a government shutdown to what they can and cannot do at the White House, but they can host events that rise to a certain level. They think today that Antifa fits the bill.
Antifa has always done that. It's fascinating. It took President Trump, right, or it took until President Trump, this administration, to call them out for who they really are, a domestic terrorist group, and to finally start dedicating resources to cracking down on them. You know, for the life of me, I don't understand why Democrats decide. And I could see the illegal immigration part because they're looking for voters. Okay, I think that's politically what they're doing. Now, morally or emotionally, they claim it's out of compassion is why they want the border open. But that is a weak issue for them. So is crime. But when it comes to crime, they have no reason. None. The only reason that they're giving us is that the Trump administration is going too far. And he is an authoritarian. That's their reasoning. Not compassion, not because they're looking for votes. No, it's just nonsense. It's emotion. Trump derangement syndrome at its best. And so, of course, I have an example of that. We don't have to look any further than MSDNC, Morning Joe. Here's what they had to say this morning.
We now have the President of the United States hamstrung, suggesting that the mayor of Chicago and the governor of Illinois should be arrested. This gives us, I think, some very interesting insight into the way that the president is using the takeover of these cities for his political purposes. I think that it's not only a distraction, by the way, for the citizens who are living through this. This is traumatic, and it's unconstitutional, clearly. But it's clear that the president, as you said, crime he thinks is a good issue for his base. I believe he's trying to provoke a reaction so that he can demonize cities, because that's a good way to divide Americans, especially along race and around immigration, to distract from the fact that he is trampling on our constitutional rights and that he is handing the money that the American people made, hard-earned taxpayer dollars, to billionaires.
All right. Okay. Let me get this straight. So it's the president causing division along race relations by deploying National Guard troops to protect ICE detention facilities because ICE officers are being attacked. They were being shot at. One migrant has already been killed in the process in Dallas. We saw that one woman or a man, or both of them really, in Chicago ran officers off the road and try to run one of them over. And so this is race relations. No, the race relations is because people like her on MSDNC continue to make it about race. This is why you always hear them say, yeah, you know, he's really targeting black and brown people. Black people have nothing to do with illegal immigration, okay? Black people are not crossing the border illegally. What are you talking about? What they're really saying is that black people, or what they should be saying, is black people in these particular communities are negatively impacted by illegal immigration. But obviously to say that, well, you know, that would obviously contradict everything they've been saying. So they won't say that. But that is the truth. That's why black people in Chicago scream at the mayor every chance they get. We've seen plenty of videos of that. And of course, he continues to gaslight just like the mayor of Portland. So why don't we give you one more clip here? We're going to go to business owners in Portland who are complaining about what's been happening and how they don't believe the people of Portland are going to do anything to help them. Take a look.
Has crime impacted your businesses?
Yes, absolutely. In fact, yesterday morning, I was broken again for the 10th time. I will say that the police responded very quickly, which was better ticket times as far as getting them to the site quicker. So that was very helpful.
Wow. How do you feel about National Guard in Portland? What do you think about that? What are your thoughts?
We need help here and something needs to be done. So if this is what we need to do to get our leaders paying attention to what's happening in Portland, then I think it's a good thing. We've been struggling for a long time, since 2020, and it's really difficult to do business in downtown Portland, and we need all the help we can get. And if this creates a little bit of peace in our city and shows that there really is some issues happening, then I think that it's for the best.
That's really good to hear. Why? Because it affirms exactly what me and you already know and believe. There are crime problems in these cities, no matter how many times MSDNC, CNN, and all these mainstream media lunatics who continue to say crime is going down. According to 2024, homicide has dropped 20%. What do you think, we're idiots? The people who live there complain about crime. The people next to the ICE detention facility in Portland has been complaining about Antifa. But hey, their opinions don't matter, right? Their stories don't matter. Their experiences don't matter, because it's all about fighting against President Trump. It just occurred to me listening to this business owner that I don't even believe the Democrat Party understands the definition of crime. According to Jasmine Crockett, you're not a criminal if you commit crime. You guys know about that clip. So I'm not even too sure that they believe a smash and grab is crime. Even the mayor of Seattle, who's running for re-election, he was just on record for saying someone who breaks the law 8 times in a row, he is not seeking to throw them in prison. He wants to know their story. He wants to know what happened to them, who hurt them. Why don't you focus on the American citizens who've been hurt by criminals instead? Don't you think that's going to make our country a more prosperous place to live? It's just fascinating the way the party thinks today. That's why I said it's been a paradigm shift. They become more radical, more progressive, and it's almost as if they've been hijacked by the devil himself. How else do you explain their thinking? See, I can look at Republicans and just be like, you know what, you guys policy-wise, it doesn't make any sense. I don't agree with that. But I'm never thinking in my mind, yeah, that sounds like the devil has hijacked their psyche. But I think about that often when it comes to Democrats. So why don't you guys let me know how you feel about that particular story and all of these that we talked about today. So let's go through it really quickly as we wrap up. We started off with, well, let me just fast forward to Katie Porter, right? Katie Porter. This lady is unhinged, running to be the governor of California. I mean, do you really think she's going to be the next governor? I'm not too sure, but I think it's a great chance given the voting system in California. They don't check your ID. In fact, it's against the law to ask for your ID. Let me say it again. It's against the law in California to ask for someone's ID when they vote. And everyone receives a mail-in ballot no matter what. So I think Katie Porter has a reason to be cocky, okay? But she's not fit to lead, in my opinion. Kristi Noem, she's doing exactly what she was put in that position to do. She's doing exactly what the president tells her to do. Go here, go there, say this, say that. She's doing a great job of that. I think she does a great job in front of the camera, unlike Pam Bondi. And ICE is doing phenomenal. They're doing what they're supposed to be doing. And they're doing it when they're running into people like Antifa and half the country who believes that they are Nazis. So shout out to them, right? And so let's not forget James Comey and his nonsense. Again, I don't believe he's going to be held accountable. You'll have to show me before I actually believe it. So let me know how you guys feel about everything we discussed in this video with these stories. And now what I want to do is go to the chat, see what you guys have to say about all of this. Okay. Starting on YouTube. Let's scroll down here. Downtown turns into a ghost town by 6 p.m. because everything runs scared before dark. Yeah. I mean, think about it. If you can't do what you want to do in your own city after 7 p.m. because you're afraid that someone is going to assault you, right? I think you have a crime problem. Sarah Christine says, I'm Central Cali, and you're right. Our vote means nothing here. It's already rigged. Yeah, see, that's my pushback because, you know, there is a thing called California derangement syndrome where people literally believe the people of California, all of the people of California voted for these woke policies. No, the entire legislator are Democrats. It's a super majority. They pass these laws without needing the public's vote. And then the public has to do what? They got to get signatures to put a measure on the ballot to challenge those laws. That takes time. And so it's rigged. Mail-in ballot, all that stuff. Okay, biology always wins. Thank you for your super chat. Is this your new shirts? No, it's always been in my shop. Again, if you guys want to get the shirt that I'm wearing, Veterans for Trump, because you are a veteran, or maybe you have a loved one who is, you can go in the link in the description below. Glad I don't live in California. Yep, I'm happy you don't either. Let's see here. I've been to Portland, and this was 10 years ago. Crime was way out of control then. My friend told me right away not to leave any valuables in my car. Yeah, when you're seeing signs like that, you know you have a crime problem. But again, let's move past that. Let's go a little deeper. Democrats don't believe that that is crime. They don't believe that is what makes people a criminal. They don't believe that. Okay? And so that's why their perception of what's happening is, no, the president's going too far. Listen, the common sense thing is this. Whatever you guys have been doing, it hasn't worked. Okay? You wanted to defund the police, doesn't work. You wanted to get more social workers and all this other, people who come in as counselors, etc., doesn't work. Okay? Then, because you know those things don't work, you know what you do next? Like Oakland and all these other places that are run by Democrats, you start fudging the numbers, manipulating the numbers. Yeah, felony, no, let's make that a misdemeanor now. Actually, that's not a misdemeanor. Hey, you know what? Smash and grabs, if it's under $900, we're not even going to prosecute. Yeah, you start messing with the justice system, changing the language. And that's why they come out and they say, yeah, crime is down. No, it's not. It's a complete smoke show, okay? Smoke and mirrors. All right, let's see what you guys have to say on Rumble. Let's see here. Yeah, if you let out violent criminals in a revolving door with cash as bail, I doubt all of their crimes are being reported. Exactly. There's just not enough people to even report it, respond to the crimes. I mean, that's already a problem there. And then why would someone be a police officer today in Portland? I mean, think about it. I mean, I wonder what their recruiting numbers look like, or Chicago. I mean, we're asking the police to sign up and be attacked or handicapped from doing their job, right? I mean, I think that is a tough ask. Yes, we need to lock people up. All right. Let's see here. Scared is admitting you woke up with Kamala in the morning to your friends. Oh. All right, here's one. Katie Porter. I keep wanting to say Katie Pody for some reason. Maybe because she looked like she had a pouty mouth. Anyways, Katie will not be governor because California residents are pissed off and want voter elections, not installs. Yeah, but can you recognize the voting system? I'm not too sure Californians can do anything about that. Not today. It's going to take some time. You know, California wasn't always this way. It took decades for them to get to where they are today, by the way. So it's not going to change overnight. I think, honestly, it's going to take a couple of more disasters that truly hit home for Democrats in California for them to wake up. And I'm not talking about the fringes like the progressives. I'm talking about people who are moderate Democrats in California, independents. I think a little bit more damage, and I think that will be the tipping point because time flies by. And, you know, I'm still not convinced California is ready. But I am convinced of this thing. that our show is here for you, to show you both sides of the story, to help you critically think for yourself. And no matter what is happening in the news, we will react to it and help you think for yourself. Okay, too much propaganda, too much noise out there. That's why the show exists. So if you guys liked our show today, like, share, and subscribe. Live streaming Monday through Friday, 1 p.m. Eastern time. Thank you so much for joining us today. God bless you, and God bless the United States of America. Take care, guys.